Sanglura, a pretty unique name even amongst the Mizos. This name holds a special place in many, many hearts. A name synonymous with Khualbuk, a name synonymous with helpfulness, kind heartedness, love, and friendship. So, who is behind this name? Let's find out. Frankly, he'd never have come to my show. He hated the limelight, and the last thing he'd do was to come on camera and talk about the good things he's done. Well, now he can only scold me from heaven, and I hate the fact that this is going to be a monologue. So here goes. 15 July 1978 is when Sang or Lura or Sanglura came to this earth. Considered one of the most handsome babies, his parents were doubly blessed. He was the most obedient too. No one remembers him ever fussing. He had his toys intact along with a trunk full of Tintin comics till he was way over 25. I remember his mom telling me and him when we were very little that Hajmola was a medicine. We were allowed one goli a day. We loved the tangy burst when we ate it. Though the bottle was always at the bedside table, not once did he steal it, even when nobody was looking. I know because I stole. And that was the character he had since we were kids. By the way, I was his sidekick since I could walk. I would follow him and his friends wherever they went. He was my hero. Because his father was in the army, they had to move from Shillong when he was about 10 years old. I missed my brother a lot. Growing up in Central School or Kendra Vidyalay in many parts of India, he had the opportunity to meet different kinds of people and also experienced various cultures. Two things he loved very much were food and music. His mum was the program executive at the All India Radio for Western Music section. Going to their house meant the radio blaring from 6 a.m. in the morning, and there was no chance of ever getting up late. Sang also grew up in a household where there was no segregation between girls and boys' work. He and his two elder sisters were expected to clean, cook, dust, run all kinds of errands, even though they could have used the luxury of ayahs and orderlies. Though they always lived in big bungalows or officer quarters, they led simple and humble lives. My aunt drove a Maruti 800 car, without an AC by the way, till the early 2000s in a place like Delhi. We would be covered in sweat when we went to church on Sundays. I think this is where his love both for music and food grew. He was absolutely hands on, especially in the kitchen, and there was nothing too small for him when it came to work or any kind of chore. He also loved artillery, something he taught his son too. Both of them would spend hours on toy guns and building DIY projects. After high school, he chose to do hotel management and completed the course from Durgapur, West Bengal in the year 2000. This was also the year I got admitted to Lady Shri Ram College in New Delhi. My aunt opened her house to me, and after many, many years, we all stayed together again for a couple of years until Sang's father was transferred to Kolkata in the year 2002. When Sang was studying in Durgapur, and this is before I went to Delhi for my college, there was this incident when he was supposed to go home for the Durga Puja holidays, and he missed the train. You know, you know how the puja processions are in Kolkata during that time, and there were no cell phones then, and he couldn't let anybody know that he had missed the train. And his mother was waiting for him at the railway station just to find out that her son wasn't there at his seat. And of course, my mother received panic calls from my aunt, and there was a huge chaos. So what Sang did was he boarded an overcrowded train, and he paid the TT whatever little money he had, and the TT was kind enough to let him board the train, and he sat next to the loo all the way from Kolkata to Delhi. He was very thankful to the TT, the ticket collector, who was kind, because you usually find really wicked people in the train. So he was really thankful, and this is one story that he had always told me about. Sang got a job at a five-star hotel in Delhi at a Japanese restaurant. He had to learn basic Japanese, and he earned about 3,000 rupees at that point in time. Working at hotels at the beginning can be brutal. I think if you've ever had the experience, you know what I'm talking about. I remember him calling us sometimes in the middle of the nights in winter in Delhi when the nights are so foggy. He would hesitantly request his mother to, come pick him up from the hotel, because the last bus would have left already, and would take my aunt's Maruti 800 car. The glasses would be down so that I could, see through the thick fog. And when we'd come back, he'd be dead tired. I remember he would just open his shoes, and he wore hush puppies at that time because they would stand a lot, and he would crash only to be woken up after 5 6 hours for another shift. To wake him up, we had to turn on the volume of his tape recorder to the highest with the music that he likes. He had tons of cassettes in his room at that point in time, and his mother would lovingly go, Boite, Totoro. Essentially, it just means, son, it's time to get up. And she would keep repeating that process, and by the fourth or fifth time, it would go, Lal Sanglur, get up right now. Oh, that used to be really funny. His eldest sister had gotten married by then, so it was just, Sang, his sister, and Anjali, and in that house. And my uncle was posted in Srinagar. So Anjali and I would roll in laughter, imitating my aunt every single day. Yeah, those were really good times. But one thing, I never heard my brother complain either about the long hours or the low pay at the hotel. He was just grateful and happy, and he spread that joy everywhere he went till the day he died. During his offs, he'd take me out. So we'd take the bus in the Delhi heat to Palika Bazaar, and we'd go looking for cassettes. He loved alternative rock, and some of his favorites were Linkin Park, Cranberries, Blink 182, No Doubt, Cake. And one song that everybody remembers is Stand By Me. And this was a version by For the Cause. It was like a rap version. And it was huge then, this music. So Sang and his friends did a cover, and it was a big hit. Those are definitely lovely memories. And I'm sure that his friends who are watching this fondly remember those days as well. Sang adored his friends. Whether they were his friends in Shillong, in Delhi, or in Kolkata, he ensured that he kept in touch with each of them. He was the one who made that effort, and really, he would do anything, absolutely anything for them. In 2002, when his dad got transferred to Kolkata, he left Delhi too and went to Kolkata with them. My 2 years of spending time with him and learning so much together also had to end there because I continued studying and working in Delhi. In Kolkata, Sang continued working in a couple of five-star hotels like he was doing in Delhi. But looking for transport, late in the night, every night became a big issue because that wasn't a reliable option anymore. And with such a low pay from the hotel, if you guys are in that industry, you know how it is. He came up with a brilliant idea. What he said was he would take a loan from his mother, to buy a bike at no interest, and he would return the money every month, like from his salary. And everybody was happy with that arrangement, right? His father approved it, but the condition was that he had to clean and look after the bike himself. It wasn't the orderly's job, and he accepted it, and a deal was struck. So he got the bike. He went to the showroom and got the bike that he liked, and month on month he paid his money back. Second of the month, and the money was transferred. It was like clockwork, and this went on for several months. So one fine month, his mother checked her account and saw that the last two installments, the ones that would pay off the entire loan, were missing. So one lovely September morning, my aunt went to the lawn, and at this point in time, they were in Fort William. Sang was happily humming and washing his bike, like he always did every morning before he went to work. As she sipped her tea, she went, "What a lovely bike you chose, and you take such good care of it." Of course, Sang was all smiles, He loved his bike, and he was happily cleaning it. And then drops the bullet. My aunt goes, "Boya, wash the front wheel properly. I may need you to remove it in the evening. Still, it still belongs to me. The two pending installments were promptly paid the next month. This is the kind of relationship he shared with his mother. They were fair to each other, they talked business, family, kids, just about everything, right? Even after he had his own family and moved, he'd speak to his mother at least 5 to 6 times a day, like every single day. It was very normal for them to speak to each other for over an hour. The son mother bond was one of a kind. Their love for one another was really something else. He absolutely loved his time and work at the hotels, but once he got married and had a son, he needed better money and also some time at home, working 14, 15 hours a day and looking after a family with a wife who was also working didn't make sense to him after a while. What he did was he took the hard decision to switch industries. He left as an assistant manager at a hotel to join business process outsourcing or the BPO ITES sector as a team manager in operations. This change happened back in Delhi. He'd gone back to Delhi from Kolkata in 2004 2005 for a bit better opportunity in a hotel. And he left his parents and stayed alone in Delhi. And that's also when he met his wife Koki. Koki and Sang got married in 2007 and had a son, and their son's name is Zachary. With both him and Koki working night shifts at that point in time, looking after their son and giving him quality time became a huge problem. Another thing that kept looming in his mind was, what am I really doing? Like, what is my purpose? How can I contribute to the society? Is this all there is to life? I loved being a hotelier. What am I doing in a BPO? These questions just kept him awake many nights. By this time, I was also working in the same sector in Gurgaon. So we were both working in Gurgaon. And he just lived about 5 minutes away from where I did. And every time I had an off, I'd run over to his house. And these were some of the things that we often discussed. Again, both Koki and him took a leap of faith. They left their corporate jobs in 2009 and left for Kolkata with just ideas, right? Possibility of opening a guest house. There was nothing concrete. They just left. They spent a few months in Kolkata, and this was at Sang's parents' house. But something had to be done quickly, right? Looking after a baby and bills piling up really wasn't helping anybody. So, with all their savings and some borrowed funds, Khualbuk was born in 2010. Many Mizos came to Kolkata, which is the closest metropolitan city from Mizoram, either for their school education or for business purposes, or for medical attention, or sometimes just for a break, right? Before Khualbuk, at that point in time, people only had the option of staying in Mizoram house or any other hotel where local Mizo food or Mizo language speaking people weren't available, right? So it was this brilliant idea that he had. Khualbuk could become their home away from home during their stay in Kolkata, whether it was a short stay or a long stay. And it really was in its truest sense. People felt at home. People felt like they were actually going to their extended homes when they were in Kolkata. And over the years, Khualbuk gained popularity, and Sang and his family did whatever they could to ensure that they provided the best hospitality to each and every guest. They just loved it. Khualbuk was everything to Sang. He took good care of it and personally cleaned every nook and corner. His guests became extended families. From spending the night to eating Mizo food, Sang became a local guardian for many of the students who studied in Kolkata. Plus, he helped each guest as he would a close kin. From picking up guests from the airport to helping them in hospitals, local markets, he became a great asset for the Mizo community in Kolkata. With his knowledge of the local language, which is Bengali, and his fluency in Hindi and English, Along with his impeccable interpersonal skills, he was the go to person for everything that the guests needed. Besides running the guest house, he was also highly involved in community work. He held various positions in the Calcutta Mizo Welfare Association, or what we call CMWA, over the years. When he passed away, he held the position of the treasurer. Culturally, we the Mizos are very close to one another, and there is a high sense of community and camaraderie within the community. The Mizo code of ethics stems from what we call Klom Ngaina. To translate, we'd have to use multiple words, including selfless service, hospitality, kindness, and being helpful irrespective of social status. Just to demonstrate, when there is a death in a family, like any family, the community comes together and helps the bereaved family. By the way, this is all done at no cost. This help is in the form of possibly digging the grave, preparing tea and food for the guests that have come to pay condolences, and a few young men would volunteer to spend a couple of nights with the bereaved family to be with them in their time of loneliness. They would also help clean the entire house. The Mizos in Kolkata are no exception, and essentially, this is what CMWA does at its core. All festivals are celebrated together, be it Christmas, Easter Sunday, or Tzapzar Koot, which is the harvest or spring festival of the Mizos. Sang would proudly be the head chef at most of these gatherings. While everyone came dressed for the festival, his duty would start early in the morning with buying vegetables and meat fresh from the local market. And then he would spend time coaching and mentoring the young volunteers, from closing the menu to the cutting and chopping and cleaning and cooking and everything else, right? So he'd be the first to arrive and he'd be the last to leave. Somehow he always liked to be at the sidelines. Like you'd never find him, suited, booted, and sitting, at the front row of, any of these festivals, right? He just hated all that limelight and he loved to quietly contribute at the background. Just that was just the kind of person that he was. Another thing I'd like to mention was the relationship he had with his only son, Zachary. Sang was a doting father and a loving husband who was highly involved in everything that his son did. From making his breakfast to taking him to school every morning, family movie time to playing gun with his son. The love they had for one another was very evident, though it may not have been said too often. I know he's watching his son from heaven every single day, blessing him and waiting for the day he'd unite with him and Koki. Then the dreadful COVID hit in 2020. As a member of the Mizo Welfare COVID Task Force, he front-ended relief work from distribution of essentials across the state to repatriation of stranded students when COVID hit. Sang was also a key member of a team committed to send people home who lost their lives in Kolkata. And this initiative is something that the Mizo Welfare has been doing for a really, really long time, way before COVID, and they continue to do so even today. This is voluntary work that involves endless paperwork and running around to hospitals, airports, and police stations under the humid, hot weather of Kolkata. The tougher the job, the more commitment he showed. Helping people gave him a good night's sleep, he would say. He made people feel loved, important, and genuinely cared for. And to us, he was the personification of our code of ethics, Klom Ngaina. And that is his legacy. While it breaks my heart to refer to him in the past tense, I am filled with pride as I recite the story of this extraordinary human who I am so honored to call my brother. Great athletes resign at their peak, and God chose to take my hero home at his. Well, I asked a few people who were very close to him this question: how would you describe Sang in 3 words? And what do you miss most about him? Here are their responses.
The things that I describe Sanglura, he was funny. He was innocently funny. He always liked to goof around, which is awesome. And he was very caring. He cared for everybody and he made sure everybody was okay. And the one thing I miss about him the most is him. I miss him.
Honest, hardworking, compassionate. I miss how he makes everyone around him feel so special.
I would describe Sang as able, strong, and happy. You know, the most wonderful thing about Sang was that he could make you feel better even in your worst condition with his positivity and laughter. And I have always admired his love and devotion to his family, especially his son Zachary. And his readiness and ability to help people without any hesitation in any situation. He was always there, always ready to help people.
Sanglura was someone who you would define as funny and friendly. Whenever I have a mental picture of him, it is always him smiling with his contagious smile. Amongst many memories of him, I would like to share just this one. Whenever the gang hung out and walk around Arkepuram block, he would never pass by a parking car without having a look in the mirror. He was a regimental. And I would never forget and be able to repay how much he contributed to making my life happier, funnier, and shinier. He will always have a piece of my heart, Sanglura.
The 3 adjectives I'd use to describe Sanglura are considerate, enthusiastic, and funny. I miss Sanglura because I thought that once we have kids, grandkids, then we'll be old and we'll be not so busy with our lives, and that we'll all our friends will be able to hang out together again like old times.
If I had only 3 words to describe Sanglura, it would be that he was genuine, because he doesn't pretend. What you see is what you get. Very big-hearted, as he's always ready to help others, and optimistically cheerful. I don't even know if that's a word, but that's how cheerful he was, always ready for a good laugh. I'm really gonna miss our conversations, over some silly matters, our jokes, our inside jokes. He was such a treasure. What's not to miss about him?
I'd like to point out a few things that will always resonate whenever his name strikes my head. The first one being he has so much empathy for everyone, and secondly, he is one of the humblest person that I have ever met, and the third one being he is the true definition of an altruist. He lived his life for others. Anyone and everyone is welcome in his home in spite of their family background, their financial status. Whoever we are treated equally. And the thing that I will miss most about him is he is more like a brother to me, and he can always make me laugh whenever I'm not in the best mood, or he's always ready to give me advice when I'm not in the best situation in my life. He is our go-to person, not just for me but for my friend group as well. We miss you, Sanglur. You will never be forgotten.
I would like to quote from the book of Psalms, 116 verse 15, which says, "Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his faithful servants." And in Mizo, amit hiyang nim the na so lalpa ngai suan lutakani. Usalur was not only just a brother, he was in everything for me. I will always miss him for the person he was, I would like to express him in 3 words. He was a good Samaritan. His philanthropic activities, his selflessness will be by and large always known forever. Secondly, he was a boon companion. We roved around everywhere. We spoke about things, relationship advices, everything, careers, and even house shows, mind you. And lastly, he was a figure. A father, a brother, whatever figure you call it, there he was. My prayers and condolences once again to the bereaved. Hilni Yomlo Usalur, we miss you, rockstar.
There are so many reasons to miss Sanglura. We miss his positivity the most. He could light up every situation and he was always there for us. In fact, not just us, for everybody, and his selfless acts will always be remembered.
Sanglura was the most fun-loving and lively friend among our group of friends. He was always ready to help others, always ready to lend a helping hand. And he could always laugh hilariously over anything, Even if we made him angry, he would always laugh about it. He was always the first one to laugh about it at the end. A picture of him that I can never forget is him coming over to our place in Delhi every evening, singing and dancing to the song How Bizarre.
First thing that comes to my mind, the first word that comes to my mind whenever I think of a Sanglura is selfless, humility. And the third thing that, the third way I can best describe Sanglura is he was never afraid to get his hands dirty. I miss him. He may not be with us in the physical form, he's with us in spirit.
So the 3 adjectives that would describe Sanglura are, for me, funny, kind, and generous. Funny because he was always making crazy jokes and doing crazy things and making the family laugh and making everyone laugh. And kind because he never had a bad word to say about anyone, and he was generous with his time, he was generous with his attention, he was generous with his love, he was generous. What do I miss most about him? Everything. I miss being able to talk to him, and I miss his spirit, I miss his liveliness, I miss his craziness.
My dear Bhai, we love you and we miss you every single day. We hope to meet you on the other side. Until then, we'll continue to celebrate your life, and God bless your soul. So guys, what legacy will you and I leave behind? How will people remember us? Thank you so much for watching Candid with Candy. I request you to check out more of my videos, and I'll see you guys next week. Till then, take care, God bless, and stay safe.
Tears in heaven.